Hi. So I have noticed there are an increasingly larger amount of younger women who are trying to get tubal ligations and are having a really hard time. And so I wanted to share my experience in the hopes that it will help somebody. I had my tubes tied when I was 25, and this was 25 years ago. Um, yeah, almost 25 years ago. So keep that in mind. It really doesn't affect much of the story, but I'm hoping things have gotten better since then. But it doesn't really sound like it. So I initially asked my doctor, I think when I was 24, and I happened to have a woman doctor. I don't think that really made much of a difference. It's really hard to say if it made it easier or harder to get the tubal or not because you'll hear the details about the reasons why in a few minutes. But she of course tried to talk me out of it, as you know, I'm sure you've all experienced if you're watching this and have had the same experience or are looking to get a tubal. And that's fine. I'm expecting them to not just be like, oh, sure, yep, let's go do that, without asking questions. So, um, I think she gave me a pretty hard time for a couple months. Like I said, it's 25 years ago. The details are kind of hard to remember, but when she, or I ended up taking a list into the doctor with me when I was getting really desperate, which I've noticed seems to be a lot of younger women's situation too, which I totally understand. Nobody wants to be on the pill for the rest of their lives if they know they're never going to have kids, or they never want kids. And yeah, so when I took the list in, I remember two specific items on that list that were very effective at convincing my doctor that I was serious, that I really wanted this, that I think might help others, even though they might not be true for others. So one of them was that mental illness tends to run in my family on a certain side, and I did not want to pass that on to anyone. And a lot of other things ran in my family too that were not, ideal to to pass on. So that was a huge deal, and she seemed to listen more when I mentioned that and kind of take me more seriously. So um, the other thing was I said that if I ever did change my mind, that I knew adoption was available and I would much rather do that than have my own children, because I had no interest at all in, first of all, going through that process of pushing a watermelon out the hoo-ha. Not, no, it doesn't sound like the most fun thing in the world. but but also of I had no interest in, spreading my genes, continuing the line, whatever, who cares? I didn't care about that. So um I also said that I would definitely much rather regret not having them than having them. So um after I said those three things, and I said other things, but those are the ones that really stick out in my brain as having made an impact. And those are the things where she finally said, okay, just so you know, you can reverse this, but it's not always viable to reverse it. So she warned me about all the side effects and possible, what they call post tubal ligation syndrome. And that was pretty much it. We scheduled the surgery, and I'm pretty sure it was free because insurance was really great back then. Boy, don't know what you got till it's gone. And I think I had a $5 copay for the surgery, and they never even made me pay that. So it was free, and that was the best money I never spent. So as far as the actual surgery, if you're watching this to find out what to expect, My experience was not typical. I don't think, I hope not, because I actually woke up during the prep. Thank God it wasn't during the cutting because it was terrifying enough as it was. I don't know how they measure anesthesia, and I think it might have something to do with body weight. But at the time, I was heavier, but I had a lot of muscle too, and I maybe if they didn't take that into account, they wouldn't have given me enough anesthesia. I really don't know. All I know is I woke up, they were scrubbing down, and I assumed it was before because I didn't feel any pain. Um, but if you've ever woken up during surgery, you know what it's like. And I just remember, being petrified, screaming in my head. I was screaming and shaking my head all over the place, trying to get them to notice that I was awake. And of course, they have your eyelids taped. You got a tube in your throat, and you can't move or open or blink or anything. So I eventually managed to twitch. So I somehow managed to twitch something, and then they realized I was awake and gave me more anesthesia. Thank God. So that is not going to happen to everybody. I wouldn't even consider it. And even though that happened, I would do this all over again 100 times. It was so worth it. So the surgery was fine. It was, pretty minor. This was when they first started doing the laparoscopy, where I only have a tiny, tiny little incision in my belly button. You can't even see it. And they had warned me about the pain from the gas that they pump into your abdomen so they can see what they're doing. So that was probably the worst immediate side effect, which lasted about 2 or 3 days. I'm glad I took a few days off work. I remember I did take off a few days. So don't think you're going to go right back to work the next day. It's not like that at all. You need to recover because the gas, as it's kind of rising, causes really, well, depending on your pain threshold. For me, they felt pretty severe pains. They felt like stabbing pains. And it's really slow to move, so it kind of eventually moves up to your shoulders, and then I don't know where it goes then. Just poof into thin air. I have no idea. But maybe a couple days of that. And then, of course, you're really sore. Your abs are really sore. It's kind of hard to go to the bathroom. Other than that, I don't really remember any severe, uh, any major healing that was a big deal. It's not horrible. However, that post-tubal ligation syndrome I mentioned, which I didn't even know what it was at the time. I just kind of thought, oh, they're just pinching your tubes, with a clamp or clamping with, it's no big deal. Well, I learned later that that's cutting the blood supply basically in half to your ovaries. So now I know, well, when you cut the blood supply in half to any place, it's going to have some effects. Some people have zero side effects from this. So again, don't think that this is going to happen to you because you might be just fine. I almost immediately after I finished healing noticed that I was having hot flashes. I was having mood swings. My periods got really wonky. Um, gosh, so many symptoms that basically now that I'm in perimenopause are very, very similar to that. And I ended up going on the internet back then, and they didn't even have Google. So, it was like forums only. So I remember, pouring through all these forums to try to find other people's experiences with this, and it was a thing. And so I learned about this post-tubal ligation syndrome, and it seemed like I had it. But if I went to the doctor and asked them about it, which I did, they're blowing me off, saying that's not a thing, it's fake, made up bullshit, basically, and they will not do anything for you, or they didn't do anything for me. They didn't. They just said it's all in your head, basically, which is a lot of what they say to women about everything. So hopefully that's different now. I don't go to doctors much anymore, but um, just be aware that these side effects are possible. And again, even though I had these issues, for an example, I remember one time specifically we're shopping and like a shooting lightning bolt of pain went out my nether regions, and I had no idea what that was. Still don't, but I suspect it was some kind of nerve thing where just things were just adjusting. I never had that again, thankfully, because that was pretty disconcerting, as you can imagine. So other than that, it was really pretty simple. I mean, I'm laughing like, other than that, waking up during surgery and having this weird syndrome, it was nothing. No, but seriously, it really was something I would do again 100 times. It was so worth it to not have to think about or worry about getting pregnant ever again. And there is a maybe is it 0.5 or 1% chance that I don't know what it is, but it's not completely unheard of for women's tubes to grow back or something. So sometimes nature finds a way, I guess. And I just figured if that ever happened, then I was meant to have kids. So obviously I wasn't, because I never got pregnant. So thank God. It was 100% effective in my case. The one thing that I'm mentioning just because it's part of the story is, and it's unfortunate to me that my doctor mentioned to me after the surgery and I went in for my follow-up. She says, "Oh, it's such a shame to waste a perfect uterus." And I was just floored. Even 25 years ago, I thought, how dare you reduce me to a body part? I'm more than my freaking uterus, and so are you. So make sure you stand up for yourself when you talk to your doctor and demand what you want, because it's pretty freaking ridiculous to me that women can't get a tubal ligation when they want to, no matter what their age is, if they know they don't want kids. But men can go get a flippin' prescription to Viagra and make a woman pregnant, and she can't even deal with it if she doesn't want to have a baby. So I just get really angry about that. So think that might be everything. I'm getting very sidetracked by minor rage here. So I just want you to know that you're not alone, and you're not abnormal for not wanting children. I was called so many things that made me feel horrible back then. Now I know it's just, that has nothing to do with me. It has to do with those people calling me those things. But I was called a monster, unnatural, because I didn't want kids. And that is just not true. Some of us are just not programmed to have children. And I thank you for realizing that and acknowledging it and trying to do something about it. So I wish you all the best luck in talking to your doctor. And if you need support or you have questions, ask. I'm here. That's why I'm doing these videos. I want to try to help people with the knowledge I have. And I have some weird, abstract, kind of random knowledge. So there's a little bit of it. So good luck. And thank you for watching.